Welcome back, friends, to another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Lids87 here, and today I am bringing you guys another Are They Worth It video, a series where I go over characters on an upcoming banner to see if they are worth your precious tickets and or gems. Before I get into it though, friends, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and shout outs to the REMS database, to the Materia bot, and to the compendium. I will leave all these wonderful links down below in the description. Thank you to all these wonderful resources for the information you provide for the community. Okay, so November 11th, UTC time, we will be getting the Ice Reaper, and that will be Kurasame. Now, Kurasame will be receiving a limited time costume, so if you rather him being in his student costume over his badass ninja costume, I guess by all means, but I prefer his badass ninja costume. Keep in mind here, friends, that it does not say free multi-draw for the Kurasame banner. Alright, there is no free multi-draw for the Kurasame. I will mention this again later. No free multi-draw. That being said, about the multi-draw, Kurasame will be getting an LD weapon, EX weapon, all that wonderful stuff. Warrior of Light will be featured on here, his burst at least. He will also be synergy for this event. And we also have Edgar and Cypher as synergy characters for Kurasame's event. Now, Kurasame himself, what will he be bringing to the table as a new character on the global side of the game? So Kurasame is an ice melee attacker with party-wide support in form of stat buffing and enemy debuffs. He has the capabilities of increasing the damage of your party members' HP damage dealt while buffing up their stats. And Kurasame is also capable of inflicting ice resist down on the enemies. He enhances himself with ice, just further boosting his own damage. Now, if you're already familiar with Kurasame and would like to skip ahead, I will be leaving timestamps down below in the comments. Again, if you are already familiar with what he does and want to skip ahead to a later portion of this video. So for those of you not familiar with Kurasame, let's take a look at his skills and buffs just so you can become more familiar on what he does as a new character in the game. Kurasame's first ability, Ice Blade Resonance, 7-hit Brave plus HP attack with the Brave potencies per Brave hit at 40%. Now that is pretty low, but if you do max everything else, you know, passives, crystal levels, character boards, all that wonderful stuff, this will further increase the Brave damage dealt by Ice Blade Renzen by 40%, so keep in mind to pick that up. Upon using Ice Blade Renzen, this will increase Hyodo stacks by 1, but keep in mind this does not inflict Hyodo, okay? Keep that in mind, that's going to be a second ability. And he will grant himself Quiet Instructor, which will grant him Ice Enchant, plus 10% attack max rate, and plus 25% to attack, and plus 20% max rate to the party. And this can be further boosted with his C50 passive, which he will increase his own attack and max rate by 10%. And he also has a C50 artifact passive, Silent Commander Up, which will further boost his own attack and max rate by 5%, up to 15% total. So you definitely want to pick up his artifact passives with attack 108, just so he could be dishing out more damage. The second ability, Multi-Blizzaga, will be hitting at 60% per Brave hit, and this can be further boosted if he attacks a single target by 60% to Brave damage, and if you do max him out, this will further increase his Brave damage dealt by 35% while the enemy is debuffed. Now this is where he inflicts Hyodo on all the enemies. So what Hyodo is going to be doing, it is a stackable debuff up to 5 stacks. Now the way Hyodo is going to work with the stacks is the stacks will fluctuate, so every time an enemy takes their turn, this will increase the stack by 1. If the enemy is at 5 stacks and the enemy takes their turn, this will reset it back to 1 stack. So this can seriously influence the amount of HP damage you deal, because what Hyodo is going to do is this will increase the HP damage that target takes by either 10%, 15%, 20%, 25%, or 30% at max stacks. On top of this, this will also decrease the enemy's speed by 20%, and this will also lower ice resist down on said target. Now with Hyodo, on top of his Quiet Instructor buff, so he will enhance himself with ice, and he lowers ice resist down, he's going to be dishing out some nice damage. And if you time this correctly with the enemy having 5 stacks of Hyodo, when you go into a summon phase or a burst phase or a burst mode I should say, you could drastically increase the amount of damage you do to said target. Ice Reaper, Kurasame's EX ability, AoE Brave, AoE HP attack delivered twice, 6 Brave hits, each of these Brave hits at a 50% Brave potency per hit, and of course the character boards, this further increases Brave damage dealt by 20%. Now this will inflict Hyodo stacks on all the enemies, but if you have this maxed out, which you should in the Lufenia era, this at the start of each wave, at the start of each battle, this will automatically inflict 2 stacks of Hyodo on all the enemies. Now with his EX ability, once maxed out, what this is going to do for quite instructor, his buff that he grants with his first ability. This will grant him access to his Brave Attack plus HP Attack plus, and his HP Attack plus will be able to increase the Hyodo stacks by 1. Again, increase the stacks, not inflict Hyodo. Keep that in mind. Now, what Ice Pillars is going to do for Kurasame is this will increase his attack and max Brave by 20%, and after Kurasame inflicts some form of HP attack on the enemy, this will trigger a follow-up attack called Ice Pillar, which is a 2-hit Ice melee Brave plus HP attack, and this will refund his Brave by 30% of HP damage dealt. After maxing out his EX weapon, you will gain access to an E-type bonus sphere, so when you attack a target's weakness, which Kurasame can inflict ice resist down and enhance himself with ice, so he's going to be doing this constantly. On the target, this will decrease said target speed by 20% for 3 turns. His final weapon, his LD weapon, his LD ability, Absolute Zero, which the Brave potency per hit is going to be at 60%. There are 8 Brave hits in this attack, which are AoE at 100% AoE HP attack. If he is attacking a single target, this will further increase the Brave damage dealt by 60%. And further increase 30% Brave damage dealt while an enemy is debuffed, of course, assuming everything is fully maxed out for Kurasame. This will inflict 5 stacks of Hyodo. So this is going to set you up beautifully for any form of burst mode or potentially summon phase. It's Kurasame's turn. Uses LD ability, Absolute Zero. Get those 5 stacks of Hyodo so your party members can deal an additional 30% HP damage up. So if you're in a burst mode, right, you're going to be dishing out extra damage to said target. Not only that, he gains access to a buff called Warm Gaze, which is going to increase party members' attack and stolen Brave Overflow by 20%. So there's more party stats in Kurasame's LD ability buff. And finally, Kurasame's 7-star armor. Now what this is going to do for the party, Brave damage dealt can exceed the cap of 9,999 by 5%. So the new Brave damage cap will be 10,498. This is going to let your party members exceed their Brave damage cap, which is pretty nice. Now, what this is also going to do for Kurasame, now this is for himself, not for your party members, held Brave and HP damage limit can exceed the 99,999 limit by 10% up to 109,998. Alright friends, so keep in mind about the terms being used. Brave damage dealt, held Brave, and HP damage limit. So this will only increase your party members' Brave damage limit, but this will not increase your party members' HP damage limit. This does not increase their Brave held, alright friends? So this isn't a bad 7-star armor to pick up just to let those hard-hitting units exceed the cap if they are able to. Now there are some cons about Kurasame if you are pretty bad at managing debuff stacks. So Hyodo stacks, they fluctuate, alright? So after every single enemy turn. If you don't time this properly, or if you don't use his LD ability to set up your party members, you could have a lot less damage going into a burst mode or anything else for that matter. Or let's say there's a unit that can act back to back, for example like Arden. When he breaks a target, he gets to go again, or Lightning when she gets her LD ability. Having the enemies at 5 stacks of Hyodo will drastically increase the HP damage dealt to said enemies, so keep that in mind friends. Also, Kurasame, he is an ice attacker. He does enhance himself with ice, so if there are stages that resist with ice resistances, you won't be able to bring him to that stage. Now at that part of the video, friends, are they worth it? Is Kurasame worth your precious tickets and or gems? First and foremost, this is the best place to pick up Word of Light if you are looking for his burst weapon because of Kurasame. And like I mentioned earlier, there is no free multi-draw on this banner. So Kurasame, what is he going to be doing to the party with all of his passives? With all of his passives, weapon passives, his crystal passives, he's going to increase your party members' attack by 55%, increase their max Brave by 30%, increase stolen Brave overflow by 20%, increase Brave damage cap with the 7-star armor. Not only that, he can also increase HP damage dealt up to 30% if timed correctly and the enemies are at 5 stacks of Hyodo. If you want to further take advantage of this, pair him up with Charlotta, pair him up with Kais, which they themselves also increase the HP damage dealt to the enemies at 20%. Pair him up with Gabranth. Gabranth's debuff allows your party members to deal 10% more HP damage to said enemies. Or pair him up with units that can go back to back to further take advantage of the Hyodo HP damage up, either with characters like Arden, for example, or Lightning in the near future. And especially with Lightning, because once she gets her burst, or with the burst effect, this is going to drastically increase the party members' damage, both brave and HP damage dealt. So massive amounts of damage towards said enemy. Now Kurasame, the fact that he can imperil and enhance ice, he's going to further increase his damage potential. And don't let someone tell you that Kurasame does not need his LD weapon, as now you will be missing out on stats to himself and the party, damaging abilities, which is very crucial in the Lufenia era, and it takes longer to get 5 stacks of Hyodo. You need his LD weapon. That being said, tickets worth it. Yes, gems, in my own personal opinion, he is pity worthy to pick up because of the reasons that were mentioned. Stats to the party, he can increase his own damage with his Ice and Peril, and the 30% HP damage up to the enemies. But let's say you are hurting on resources, you are hurting on gems, you are hurting on tickets, and unfortunately you do have to miss out on Kurasame. There are other units, there are alternatives that can increase your party members' HP damage at the current moment. For example, like Charlotta. If you have Charlotta, she can increase your party members' HP damage dealt by 20%. We currently have Kais, who increases HP damage during a chase by 20%. Or there's also Gabranth, who increases your party's HP damage dealt by 10% with his debuffs. But aside from that, friends, Kurasame is definitely worth the gems. That is it for this video, friends. I want to thank you guys for watching my Are They Worth It covering Kurasame. Be sure to let me know down below in the comments what you guys are going to be doing for this particular banner. Me personally, you know, we had Vivi, right? So I used gems there. Unfortunately, well, fortunately, Vivi's a very good character, but that threw a kink in my plans. So now I have to use tickets instead of gems for Kurasame. I will be throwing a lot of tickets for Kurasame, potentially 200, 300, depending on how RNG goes. I hope I do get Kurasame's LD in the process. I do have EX tokens to pick up his EX weapon if I do get his LD early, and I do have the power tokens to pick up his gear if I pick up his LD weapon earlier. Alright, friends, at the time of making this video, Kurasame does not have his LD extensions yet, so that means he will get them later down the line if you do pick him up now, which that means he has even further longevity in the long run. Alright, friends, so again, all that wonderful stuff down below in the comments, and until next time, friends, good luck and have a good one.